So welcome everyone. Let's kick this off. My name is Samir. I'm the CEO and also one of the co-founders. But the main reason why I'm here is also because I'm a big product nerd. I have a big passion for product, and this is a bit of a product webinar. We have about 30 minutes to run through this 60-something slides, but also, of course, we will allow you to ask any questions. For you who haven't used Zoom webinar before, I will start sharing screen, and then I will most likely take over your screen. But I think there is, in the right corner, I think it's up there, you will see a view button. So if you want to change the layout on the presentation versus me, mainly minimize me, you don't want to see me for some reason, you can do that. We also have a chat. Some have found them. You can find it in the bottom, I think. And just to try it out a little bit, I would love to see a bit if you're up and running. So if you just can write where you are tuning in from. I'm in Malmö right now. This week, super crazy because we have the Eurovision here in Malmö. I will not go. Unfortunately, tickets are out, but if they weren't, I would happily be there. So we see that we have some Copenhagen, we have some from Stockholm, some from Oslo, Uppsala, Ljungby. Feels very, Netherlands. Finally, I was about to say, hope I have someone from abroad, and we saw both Florence and Netherlands pop up there. So you have found the chat. I've told you what will be going on here, and I'll start now sharing the screen, and we'll take it on from there. And as I said, any questions, just feel to write them, and then I'll try to see if I can answer them as soon as I can, or we'll pick it up in the end. So let's kick it off. You should see my screen now. Is that correct? Yes, perfect. So the purpose of this session, and it's actually two-folded. One part is connected to me being a big product nerd. I'm super exciting because this is a little bit of a release webinar for us. We show some of our new features that we have released. And we have been building a lot in the last 12 months, and we have actually been doing it very close to our customers to make sure that we deliver value. And of course, we then want to show these so that they can deliver value to you too. So the second one, which maybe you're interested in, is like, how can we help you reach revenue targets in 2024? So that is actually what we will talk about. But then, why is this a topic right now? Of course, revenue targets is most likely always a topic, but I think it's an extra important topic. And also, how will we then help you with this? And this is two things that we will talk about. But let's start with the why. Why is this a topic? So 12, 14 months ago, we start to ask a lot of our customers, and in particular, I think it was more than 100 sales leaders, about their biggest pain. And one thing that was coming up again and again was that sales today is not what it was yesterday. And what they often refer to was that back in the heydays, everyone could almost close sales or close deals. And many even said that doing sales yesterday was like sending order forms, which seems very nice, but now it's less like that. Now it's more decision makers involved. It's actually less decisions being taken, and it's so much tougher today. And to support that, we looked into a report from EPSTA, where they have analyzed millions of opportunities, as you can see, millions of revenue from 530 different companies. And that report actually also told the same story. It told that the sales velocity and all the parts affecting it were impacted negatively since 2022. So there are less opportunities out there, so meaning less meat to fight for. And when you get that meat, it's a smaller animal, so to say. And there are more competitors out there, so it's harder to win those deals. So of course, it's a tougher climate. And on top of that, if they even want to take a decision, it takes a little bit of longer time. So putting that sugar on the cake, of course, then impacts the velocity negatively. And we can also see in the same report that 17 of reps were providing for 81% of the quota. You can, of course, see that as a negative, that what are the others doing? But we can also see it from a positive angle, which I want to do. And that tells me that there is a small portion of your reps who actually do perform. And that is, do perform okay. And that is really interesting. How can we copy those? A different report from Winning by Design said that yesterday, the average number of top performers was about 20% of your sales staff. 10% for bottom performers, and the rest were average in between. But today, the same report tells that 4% are only top performers. And not only have that part decreased, the bottom part have also increased to say that 28% are now bottom performers. So, to summarize, why is this an important topic? Yes, because it is actually harder to do sales than ever. And that got us excited when we saw this. It triggers us a lot because we also saw that there are still top performers out there who are reaching quota, who are doing the right things, and who are closing those deals. And actually, our first mission statement here at GetAccept back in 2015-16 was that we wanted to create superstar sales reps. So we got, of course, super excited about this because we saw that we can create more of these top performers. So how to do that? Of course, we continue to ask and ask. So 12 months ago, we started to ask these leaders, what is the biggest pain? And this, of course, we asked, is there any solution that we can put forward to help? And besides the top there, where you can see the macro environment, of course, having its challenge and everything, we saw that the biggest pains were connected that the sales teams are not now skilled enough. If it was super easy before, now you need to handle new stakeholders. Maybe the terrible boogeyman of the finance, the VP of finance comes in. How do we talk to them? And there are more stakeholders. No one takes a decision by themselves today. So you need to know how to talk to these and engage them. And in the end, also what you think you had, maybe a methodology that you were following, were not actually being followed because everyone was doing sales anyways. So now we feel that that methodology needs a revamp, and you need to actually put that forward. So if we now go in, I promised in my LinkedIn post, we'll look at real customer cases. So this is Remi. He's the VP of sales at SalesScreen. And he was challenged coming in there with a mission to go up market. And he decided to try out GetAccept in that part of the journey. And we were really eager to help him out. And the result that we then saw after 6 months together with his team was that we actually increased the win rate from 13% to 26% on enterprise deals, whilst also decreasing the time to close with 14%. So let's look into this together, what we actually did. First of all, the sales process. I didn't say it before, but top performing sales reps, the 4% there, they're actually 5x more likely to follow a sales methodology. And I often tell, because I can actually do sales, believe it or not, that sales isn't a skill that you're born with. It's about being diligent, about being trying to improve something, create a habit that you're training on, and in the end, you will gain results from that. So with Remi, we looked into how we could support their enterprise sales process and methodology. And one way was actually just starting to build out collateral and sales rooms catering for different use cases, which could then help the rep to follow through with this process and doing the right things. So in GetAccept, we have now for them created different kind of room templates. So look at that as a template that you start to use in the beginning of your sales process when you identified an opportunity. So their reps could they just create a room in an instant click. They will then choose from different templates, and each and different template caters for different industries, different use cases, different sizes. So we help sales screen team to create these templates, which could then be used for different use cases based on these different parameters. So now they can easily follow the right process because the template helps them do, and I will show how. And not only that, the rooms are now addressing the right pains, which is then specific on each use case. And that will, of course, make the buyer feel that we really know them and that we're talking about them, right? So look at this. We have now created a room with more or less one click, and all the content are enabled in there. And you can now keep this as this one place where you invite anyone on the buyer side, but also on the seller side, to interact, engage, and create that buyer experience. To the left there, you'll see different pages. Different pages is then room pages, which help the seller and the buyer to navigate through the content and to navigate through the process, which we know is working because we've built that on expertise. As I said, skills that we've seen being working. And some parts, as you can see, are available there in the top, and some are hidden so that we can help that process go on, but not overwhelm the buyer with all information in the beginning, but also help the seller then to understand what is the next step, what should we enable. And all, of course, again, follows this methodology that I have created, and it's super easy for the rep to follow through. And that's what it's all about. Help the rep to make it easy. And as a part of this, we developed this new thing, which we call resource placeholders or content placeholders. This is a brand new thing, which have been built together with our customers to create an efficient and simple way to follow this process. And you can compare it to built-in guides inside of the room, telling your reps what to do, when to do it, and of course, you base this on what is what has been bringing success before. So look at this, for example. This is a placeholder, and this placeholder will now tell the rep to record a video, because we saw that being personal and in these enterprise interactions are really important. You often have one champion where you create that relationship with, but then you have several other stakeholders that doesn't know about you. So we want to build that relationship. And if we zoom in a little bit on that, this placeholder now guides the seller to do the things that we know works. They should record a video with yourself, tell your name so you get personal, your role, be personal, maybe tell them something that isn't only connected to work, tell them about the values that you have been creating, and then you can also pinpoint these based on the different scenarios or industries that you have. And as a small last reminder, don't forget to smile, because that is actually proven to help too. So this now guides the rep to do the right thing. And everyone will then do this, and everyone will then be met by this being a buyer. And this, as you can see, me smiling and also thumbs up helps a little bit. As the next part of placeholders, where we saw success was when we could show that we as sellers did understand the buyer's pains and challenges. And since all these templates are based on different industries, we could reflect that right away. We could also create then resources behind the scenes that we have said, which are specific pain points, the outcome of the pain if you're not solving it, maybe less sales or whatever, and the outcome, the gains, if we manage to solve it. So what you can see here is a list of different pains that we know that our buyers do have. And by hoovering, we can see are it the right ones that we want to choose from. And as easy as this, the rep just choose two of these pains, one being the sales process management and one being the stakeholder identification, click next, and suddenly we have populated a room with that information. Super easy. And of course, you can use this for different products. It can be different customer cases, different integrations that you have, or it can be regional information based on that you're selling to someone in Germany and you want to introduce them to your German team. Then a resource could be the German team. So really easy to help them to do the right things and engage with the right content. The next part, and maybe one of the key part, was this new functionality, which we have been iterating on for quite some while now. Many know is that the mutual action plan or a map. Other likes to call it a go live plan. Another one wants to call it a mutual success plan. It has a lot of names, but independent of what you name it, it should be something that you share and collaboratively plan together with your buyers and particularly your champion, and focusing on how to reach the end goal together. So the ones who have implemented this successfully, often it goes to bigger deals. They actually say that this is one key ingredient to their success. So what is it then? So this is an example of how it can look like in GetAccept. This is a mutual action plan inside of GetAccept. If we start to look here in the bottom here at the milestones, we can see that each milestone is clearly stated. What should we do and what should we reach? You can also see if there's any deadlines. You can see if there's any tasks on these and how many you have done. And you can easily see the progress to the goal. Visualize this for both the buyer and the seller. And this helps, of course, everyone to understand what do we need to get done to get this across the finish line and even further on to onboarding. And I think this is especially important to share with your champion in order to get us through together through the buying journey. And of course, each milestones then have different tasks. To the left there, you can see how each task have a topic, a description that clearly states what should we do. So we should, for example, do some requirements. We should do pain point identification and set goals. And to the right of that, you can then see who is then responsible for this, who has completed, what status does it have. There are some things like you see the today ones that had deadline today, so they need to get done today. And it's actually both me and FS, which is Frederick, that are supporting doing this. And the bottom one only have Frederick who should do that. And the bottom one is actually around scheduling presentation meeting. So again, then, of course, this will help you to guide, but there's also behind the scenes a reminder workflow, which will send a reminder through an email so that you don't forget about these tasks. And again, it's all about helping everyone to follow through with the process. I also think this is much about being a little bit brave as a rep and clearly stating what we need to do, because we have been selling this a lot of times. How can I hold your hand as a buyer to get you through this? Of course, you can use mutual action plans in GetAccept, but I would say that 9 out of 10 that we talk to who are using it do it quite successfully, maybe in a Google slide, Excel sheet, which they share with the customers. So I think independent of you want to use it in GetAccept or outside, start trying it out. We will share you a mutual action template in the sendout that we're sending out so that you can start trying it out. Of course, you maybe don't have the automatic reminders and ways of putting deadlines in the same way, but I think it's good enough to try it out. So feel free to use that to get kicking with it. Any questions? Feel free again. I'll just remind, use the chat if you want me to stop somewhere. And yes, you're reminding me, if you have good questions and we figure out that they are good, we actually have these Revenue Rebel t-shirts that we'll send out to at least 5 of you that are a little bit extra active. So yeah, be active, be active. So a summary then on what Remi's sales team did to 2x their closing rate, but also then decrease this time to close was, 1, they implemented and enabled sales teams to work with a sales methodology. 2, they set and aligned and collaborate with the buyer side through mutual action plans and created a really nice structure and commitment through that. Next one then, champions and stakeholders. And I think this has become even more important going forward. So let's continue with that. I just love this statement. Sellers don't close deals, buyers do. This doesn't mean that sellers aren't involved. They are very much involved, but their role is to enable the buyer to take a decision, right? Hopefully you can agree with me on that. Any thumbs up there from the crowd? And if you're not agreeing, thumbs down. Some that I've talked to have said that sellers are the one closing deals, not the buyers, but I think it's a mutual thing. And the next thing, another statement which you need to understand, and this is not optional, I think this is just true, is that buyers do talk to you when you are not in the room. And I have to thank Nate Nasrallah, who's I think you should check out, telling this to me, and really realizing that, hey, I need to enable my buyers behind the scenes. In particular, I need to enable my champion. So this is why I need to enable them. And you need to enable the champion because that is the one that will fight for you, and you need to arm them to fight any of those objections. And that, again, is something that top performers are doing. So going back to a customer case, and this was actually a surprise post to me on LinkedIn, nothing we asked Kevin about, and he shared about a success, and that made me so happy. It was a Friday, I remember, so it was closing Friday even. And looking at this, we can zoom in here in the bottom, where they have in their own Slack channel, internal, said that thanks for your help on this deal, Marvin, which is the sales manager. Couldn't have done it without you and the GetAccept tool. 53 days of sales cycle on a comp this size is not normal. So what is it that we're doing here? So we helped with the win rate, and we reduced, again, sales cycle time for Carolina, hopefully a top performing rep. One thing is that they have realized that stakeholders are really important. So this data tells that if you can identify, involve, and engage the right stakeholders, you can actually increase the likelihood of closing the deal dramatically, especially if you run enterprise and medium-sized deals. And as you can see here, Kevin's team doing mid and enterprise deals, of course, going from then 10% to 40% win rates is a huge difference. And not only is it connected to the win rate, it's also connected to, if you have these 7 to 8 stakeholders and the right stakeholders, of course, involved, you can actually decrease the time to close. So 2 things that Caroline did express, that they have got help from the digital sales room solution. So how did they get help? I mean, many of you, and this is not just Kevin's process, it's more or less every legacy process out there, including many of yours. You're sharing files, PDFs, email recordings, it's all over the place. And on top of that, there's a tons of these stakeholders which you don't know about. And it's impossible to create any structure for them to buy. And these stakeholders are popping up behind the scenes, unknown for you. And remember again what I said, they are talking about you when you're not there. And shouldn't you then try to steer them so that you can actually impact that conversation to your favor, right? So again, now, if you think of it as a room, and you can gather all these PDFs, files, you see there on the top, we have files, we have the chat, the conversations, the action plan to the left, you have all the content that you're sharing, and you have all the different persons in there. All the stakeholders. Are they there? Maybe you know, we cannot sell if we don't have the CFO involved. Is the CFO here? Yes, no. Should we go for this deal or not? Closing out the quarter, for example. And what's really cool here is that often what happens is that you maybe know 2 of them. Maybe I'm talking to Victoria and Sarah, but as you can see, the other ones are actually invited internally from the buyer side. So Victoria actually invited Petra in this case. And I will then, of course, get informed. And again, it's about arming the champion to fight the objections, but also then understanding who is in there and who should we talk to. And this is exactly what top performers do. And on top of that, now since you have everyone gathered, now you can not only invite, you can then have the champion start guiding them, or you can guide them to different parts. So in this case, maybe you want them to see this specific pain because they've been talking about it internally, and they can then comment on these and ping someone, and that ping will then guide them to those certain parts so that they can easily look it through. So if it's too much content, we can say this and this and this part are interesting for you as a CFO, for example. So guide them, steer them, and make sure that what they're talking about when you're not there is what you want them to talk about. And you can also see here that you can, on top of that, start other conversation. And we often see that happen in the chat. When you remove it from the email, suddenly you start having kind of other kind of discussions, more rapid ones, talking about pains, problems, solutions. And worth mentioning is that the champions are needed for you to win the deal, but everyone else here is not here to win it for you, but they can often stall it. So again, if you can discuss with them, of course, that can help, because again, they will be talking about you when you're not there. And if you can impact that, you're more likely to win. And on top of that, what we also can do, of course, is then understands who interacts and how much. For example, here we can see that some of them have been viewing it, but the one in the bottom there, Anna Chang, has not. And we know, for example, that Anna, being a Salesforce consultant, and we need to implement and integrate to Salesforce, this becomes really important. So we need to get Anna involved. We need to put her blessing on top of buying then this tool to get to the next step. And we can, of course, also then use things like, hey, the CFO haven't been here. The CFO hadn't read the business case. Should we then go for a close just because of it is end of month or end of quarter? So to summarize, what helped Kevin's team here to increase win rate, but also dramatically reduce the closing time to 53 days, was that they could identify and enable and engage the important stakeholders. And on top of that, in this room, we really could arm the champion to fight the objections when they aren't, when you as a seller aren't in the room. We have a question, I think two actually. Let's see here. So this seems awesome for complex deals building. Do you have any data how much more likely prospects are to sign using the deal room versus just a contract? And do you also use this for simple deals? Good question, Victor. I think, of course, in bigger and more complex deals, maybe it becomes more useful in the way. But I also think in smaller deals, to help them to actually understand what they're buying and get to that decision is, of course, supportive. But for example, some of our customers in the hotel industry, in the hospitality industry, the first thing that they get on the phone is maybe, hey, I want a venue. We are 50 persons. What does it cost? And of course, then maybe using only a contract room, which we also have as a part of this digital sales room solution, but it more caters for the end of the process, is maybe where you need to start. But of course, also in that, we enable then the video, the tracking, and all those other things. Maybe then you don't need the mutual action plan. So dependent on what kind of deals you're running, we can cater for the more longer one that maybe takes months, but also cater for the quicker one that maybe takes weeks or days. Based on that, you don't need all the things in the room. So hopefully that was an answer to you. What was it more? Will the features within GetAccept be available for existing clients using the same plan? And how did adding more steps to the sales cycle affect AM engagement? So some of these features are directly available inside of GetAccept. But I think you should consult with your account manager if you really want to dig deeper into which parts. And then how did adding more steps to the sales cycle affect AM engagement? Not sure I understand the question. So if you want to make that more precise, Victor, feel free to write again and I'll get back to it, right? Perfect. So integrate to your CRM. This is the last thing I'll talk about. And this is all about we understanding that the CRM is often your heart, and we need to get the 360 view of your deals inside of your CRM. So if we look at this, what we want to show you here, we have integrations to Salesforce, HubSpot, Pipedrive, Dynamics, you name it, Lime and SuperOffice also. So what you can see here is Salesforce in this case. So this is a deal room or a Salesforce where you directly inside of Salesforce can create a deal room. You click this one to create. And as you could pick from templates before, you can here pick from templates. Now we only have one in this case. So we'll take that one. The nice thing is when you integrate it in Salesforce, if you have any information that you want to push from your integration or your CRM to a room, could be such easy things as a company name, or maybe you have product descriptions or things like that, you can do that. You can just connect those things and it will be pushed into resources and placeholders inside of the room. And next, you can, of course, then add who should participate. The nice thing here is if there is someone who's added from the outside, from the buyer side, you will get them back into your CRM and tag so that you know who it is. So that is super helpful. And then as easy as that, it's ready to get published, and you can send an invite. And then you can, of course, open it up and modify it if you want to. As you've done that, you will have full access to them inside of your CRM. And you can see the statuses, have they been reviewed, how much time have they spent. So you can also then, if you want, invite more people as you go. Maybe you start with one person, and then as more people are added, you can just populate it in from the CRM. And what I like is also that everything that is going on, the interactions, the time spent on different content pieces are, of course, published back to Salesforce so that you can view it in here and take decisions on how to move forward. Are the right stakeholders there? Did they interact the last week? How much time did they spend? Should we push this deal to the next month, or should we push it for this month? Which one should we focus on? And of course, if you're working more complex environments with a mutual action plan, that one is, of course, also available inside of Salesforce. You can see then on the deal combination of, are we in stage closing, but the completion rate of the plan, of the action plan, is only 37%, most likely not closable. And then you can see which tasks you have. And of course, you can then open up the different parts, edit them, and do changes, add-ons, check them off, etc. And of course, that will then be published back to Salesforce. And one thing that I like the most is maybe this view. Behind the gray here, you can see that every line here is one of your opportunities in Salesforce. And then we can compare to which state are we in. Again, are we in closing state? And Frederick, in this case, have said that we have only completed 20% of the action plan. I, as a manager, will go and say, hey, Frederick, it's May. You're telling us that we will close this one. But based on what I'm seeing here, this is not closable. We don't have the interaction and activity from the stakeholders, and we've only done 20% of the action plan so far. This is most likely not to close. Let's not focus on this one, but focus on some of the others. And on this one, we maybe focus to get that back to activity from the buyer side, right? And let's see here. That's about it from the CRMs. Any more questions? We have a few. Perfect. I love questions. Albin, is this deal room the same thing as the digital sales room, or is it different add-on? So the deal room is, of course, it's a digital sales room, the deal room, and then we have two modules: the deal room module and the contract room. And this, if you find this complex, just let us know and we'll guide you through what you want. If you today have the contract room, you can do some of these things, but not everything. For example, the mutual action plan is not available in the contract room. So just let us know and we'll guide you through this experience. Clarifying the first question, I meant that account managers are notoriously lazy. Is the creation of the deal room with the shared action plan something that is often missed by account managers? Okay, so again, I agree with you, Victor, that account manager and reps and overall, I think human person maybe are a bit lazy, so we need to help them. And that's why you could, for example, see that Remi, in his case, where he actually had a sales methodology, but it wasn't used, where we can help them to follow that easily, then they start using it. But you also need to make sure that you give something back to the reps, because they hate, for example, the CRM, because they often feel that they're just adding a bunch of information in there. So if you click a button, you create a room, you click a couple of more buttons to put in the right content, and you record a video, what do you get back as a rep? So what you get back is, of course, then immediate actions on what happens. So compare that a little bit to your LinkedIn post. As soon as you see someone viewing and commenting and doing things, it gets exciting. And the same thing goes for the room. As people are entering, new stakeholders are being invited, you as a rep get excited and you put more time into it. So I actually think that enabling this for them got them more involved to the sales process, wanting to follow the sales process. And then Remi, the templates in the sales room saved us many. Okay, that's maybe more about. Thank you, Remi, for sharing that. Is there a forum for us GetAccept users where we can learn from each other? Seems like others. This is maybe the best thing you've said so far, Victor. I was about to say. Right now, no, but we're actually thinking of creating a customer community group. We have created a small CRO group from existing GetAccept users. We have about 80 who has joined. It's CROs, a little bit more larger customers, which we invite twice a year to an event, a 2-day event where we share knowledge and so on. But that's often if you are a little bit of the larger customers. But then we're also thinking of how to create that other community. So I'll actually pass this forward to our team, building partnerships and that community to see what we can do. So thanks for pushing that. Really love it. Next up then. So last but not least, let's just summarize a little bit. So implemented, what did we help with? First of all, we implement and make it easy to follow sales methodologies with the DSR. And as you know, top performers are 5x more likely to follow a methodology than the others. So of course that is helpful. Enable your champion and reveal and engage your stakeholders to win those deals is key. As you saw, if you are in the mid to enterprise segment, you actually can pop up several X of percentages just by doing so. And last but not least, connect it to your ecosystem. And there we have spent so much time to actually build the best connection with what you can see out there in the world. So I think we have that because that then enables so that you can coach, you can forecast, and you can focus on the right deals, right? So that's the summary. We have had some Q&As on the way. So if you still have some questions, feel free to post them. I'm not sure if you can unmute and say something, but feel free to write them in the chat. And what will happen next now is that we'll dig even deeper into this. Now I just scrub this on the surface a little bit. So we'll have 3 product webinars coming up. First one is 14th of May. It will go into sales methodologies. I'll tell you more about it. 21st of May, stakeholder management. And 28th of May, we integrate to the CRM and show you how you do that. The next one, the 14th of May, is together with John Buss. We'll talk about sales methodologies, how you implement them successfully, how you can work with action plans and create action plans that make sense to support your team. It will be very tactical, hands-on tips and tricks, and how you then create top performers from that. And we will then showcase that inside of GetAccept. So if you are a customer, of course, you will just be able to then start building. But if you aren't, of course, you can dig deeper into that. So if you want to close this gap between the top performers, the 4%, and the bottom performers by enabling more, you should really sign up, especially if you are a sales leader out there, because this will really up your game. So that being said, we will share the webinar to you. We will share the mutual action plan template that I just showed here. And we will share the invite link for the 14th of May. And that's about it. And as you can see here, Victoria is sharing already the mutual action plan and the Nest sign up link. So I think that was it for today. I hope you got something out of this. I for sure did. Love to talk to you all. Next time we'll see if we can enable that 2-way discussion also, because sometimes it's a little bit boring to just stand and talk. I want to get challenged from you. Thank you so much. I'll send a t-shirt. Victor, you'll get one. Remi, maybe you already have one, but maybe I can send one more. Who knows? And if you really want this one, tune up for the next one. Be a revenue rebel. See you later. Ciao. Bye-bye.